Hey y'all, welcome back to Yell Respectfully with Ashlee, presented by Just Awesome Because Productions. And today we are talking about Paradise on Hulu. I'm telling you right now, I'm obsessed. Like, I can feel myself making this my entire personality. Like, I'm getting Scandal level vibes of obsession for this show so far. I had heard about it. I'd seen the promos. I thought every promo was amazing. And I was like, yes, editing team, like that trailer was fantastic. You know what I mean? And then I watched it and then I realized how amazing it really was. In the sense of like, this is the kind of show where a lot happens and a lot is revealed. So the fact that the trailers were enticing and also didn't give away huge things is like phenomenal. Even myself, I'm trying to be very respectful just in case anybody hasn't seen it. I'm going to try my best not to be any spoilers. I don't know how long I'm going to last, but if I do slip into spoilers, I will warn you, but I'm going to try my best to stay as spoiler free as possible. Okay. I just want to start off in saying the cinematography for this show is phenomenal. For a scripted series that is airing on, airing on a streaming platform, like it is so good. The quality is so clear. And I also want to shout out to the team as a whole, probably the writers and just all the execution as well. They do a phenomenal job of showing, not telling. I remember from the very first shot, I was like, oh, what a great way to tell us that, there's no one in his bed. Like, it's such a simple thing, but I was like, oh, that was a whole bunch of information that I got without any kind of conversation. And this is why I'm kind of like harping on the cinematography, because like even very early on, I have a slight obsession with like shots that require reflections. And that's like little things like, mirrors, lakes, like just reflective surfaces. I just love when they are included in a shot, and especially when it's framed up properly. The way that reflections were used to frame and show emotion and distance in certain shots was phenomenal. The way that the light, and so it's interesting, the lighting is done so well that I actually caught something that was a clue, because the lighting was so good, that there was one thing and I was like, the lighting is off. And I was like, I don't know if that's on purpose or if like production just missed sunrise. And then it ended up being like completely a thing on purpose. And I was like, I caught it from like the beginning. I just didn't know what information I knew that I knew, Man, okay, so Sterling K. Brown is leading this cast, and you've seen the promos. He's like the Secret Service agent protecting the president or former president, and who's played by James Marsden, who we all love. I will say this: I hate his character, but he's playing it well. It's just one of those things where we're just like, but yeah, no, he's playing it really well. This show is officially considered like a sci-fi thriller, and that was why I was very hesitant to watch it, right? I am not a thriller woman. It almost always is a miss for me. I want to be able to sleep at night, and I was like, I don't know if I can do it. If you are a PAB and you're not sure if you can do it, do it. You can do the show. It is absolutely palatable. Like, the puzzle will keep you so much more engaged that you will kind of forget the like initial reason why you're like, oh, I don't know if I could do it. You can totally do it. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I can say anything else without spoiling anything. So I think this is the end of the spoiler-free portion, and then I'm going to give you some time to run away. Okay, so now I'm going to talk freely, and there will absolutely be spoilers for the rest of this, okay? This show gave me the same feeling of when we watched The Good Place. Now, The Good Place has been out for years. If you hadn't seen that, and I'm the spoiler for you for that, I'm sorry, but like, you probably weren't going to watch it anyway. When it was revealed, like in The Good Place, that it was actually The Bad Place, it was like, of course, we all had our suspicions, sure, whatever, but when it was actually revealed, it was like a big reveal. The thing is that with Paradise is that they don't do like a season long, they do it at the end of the first episode, which I was just like I said, like I had suspicions. So this was how I was actually starting to clock that something might be off. It was the very first scene, like after well, his character's name is Xavier, but after Sterling's character woke up, we see that his wife is not in his bed. You go, oh my God, like a widow or something of that resort. I just knew there was a reason why he was sleeping alone, and they made a point to show us. And then he gets up and goes for a morning run. When he goes for that morning run, for me, the lighting was wrong. And that's such a like a production nerd thing. I get it. But I literally was just like, the blue tint is wrong. And I was like, that's not the morning run like lighting. And that's why I was just like, oh, maybe production just missed their call. And we're just like, you know what, we're just going to shoot it and then put a tint over it in post. Like I kind of assumed that was just the energy to make it work. And no, it's not. It's just because they're putting the light that way because that's what it should be when you're waking up, even though it's not accurate. And what was interesting is that we're seeing him get up and go run. He runs to what seems to be by his job to just do a check-in before he runs back home and actually gets ready to go to work. And I remember saying, where are they? Because on the street that he was running on and the houses that were around, and then in the distance, you see these beautiful mountains. And I was just like, where's this set? Like, I remember thinking, I was like, where's this set? Where did they shoot this? Because, okay, so I have traveled, but I have not traveled across all of the United States. So I can't definitively be like, yeah, those mountains are this specific spot in the USA. Like there's a good chunk of the middle of the United States I haven't been to yet, right? But my first thought with how the mountains looked, I first thought Arizona. And I was just like, it feels Arizona-ish with the way the mountains look, but it completely doesn't match like the streets or the houses that would be in that place. And again, like I said, I haven't been on all the places, but I was just like, the mountains feel out of place to me. I was like, they're gorgeous, but they feel out of place to me. And I was like, maybe I just haven't been to the place where this is supposed to be set. So, okay. And then like knowing that there's like a presidential portion involved, I was like, that's obviously not DC. And then I was like, oh, maybe he's on vacation. Like this is like how my mind is thinking as I'm watching this. I'm like, maybe he's on vacation. Maybe the president is in a more secluded place, which is why, the agent can just run to the house and check in, whatever, before he actually clocks in officially. And my mom was kind of just doing all this background work. And I was like, okay, cool. It wasn't like super essential. The story was still going along. So I kind of just like mentally checked out about that, right? So now things move forward. Of course, the president's death is actually like discovered. And Xavier does something that I can't stand because I knew that this was going to be weaponized against him, but I fully understood why he did it. And to have the eyes be clear, I also appreciated that he did this. And he put a 30-minute lockdown on the scene to try and just acquire information and figure out what's going on before he reported it in. I fully understand why he did it, but I knew it was going to be held against him later, right? So the president is dead, is in his room. Technically, Xavier, who's his Secret Service agent, is the quote-unquote last person to see him. Now, it's the last official person. And the reason why I say that is because he had some company, and even that is a little scandalous and a little involved. But in terms of like your duty, he was the last person on duty to see him. It is so wild. So I remember when Xavier ends up leaving a little bit later, and we see a body of water, and there's like ducks on the water, but then there's like a worker in the water, and the water is so low, it's like a couple of inches, and he's holding one of the ducks, but it's like mechanical, and he's holding it upside down. And I really kept thinking, that is very strange. And I was like, okay, all right, like whatever, I'm not really gonna, but I was like, that's very strange, I'm gonna like catalog that for later. And then that's where we get the reveal at the end of the episode. There's so many things that happens in between. Trust me, I will circle back. But that's when we kind of get the reveal by the end of the episode that they are essentially they are in a bunker. But it's a very curated, high-class, thought-filled bunker. In the way that, like, the sun is artificial, but it rises and sets like a normal sun would. And that's why, like, when I clocked in the beginning that like that morning light isn't correct because it wasn't actually morning light. It was artificial morning light. And the sun, like literally how they reveal to us that it's like not what we think is that it's like, oh, the sun needs maintenance. So the sun will be quote unquote like rising 2 hours later tomorrow. And it was like genius. It was such like this is why I say I'm so obsessed with the show. I'm obsessed with the storytelling. I love how they're telling us the story. I'm one of those people and it's just a personal preference. I don't love a lot of flashback storytelling because I kind of get confused with the timeline, right? Like just me, I go like, wait, when is this? Is this earlier? This is before, this is after, you know what I mean? I get confused with the timeline. This show uses flashback storytelling. In my opinion, the way it is, it's kind of a necessity, but they do it in such a cohesive and like digestible way that not only does it not bug me, but it also like makes sense. Now, it's interesting because I'm me and I had to do a little research, in order to do this. I did go back and watch like I just put on the earlier episodes just to double check because I was like, I wonder if with me already knowing if some things look different, and it does. It does. I won't ruin it for you because I don't know if you guys are rewatchers. I am. But I absolutely like some things that like I said, the things I naturally caught where I was like, that's strange. And it was like the art of, it was the morning light. It was the ducks on the pond. It was the wristband. Actually, it was the wristband thing that I clocked that as well. And then it was the proximity of the Secret Service agent living to the president. So I was like, that was just so strange to me. And I was just like, because I was like, okay, even if the president isn't in DC and he's in a more like secluded place, like the Secret Service agents would either be like on site. They wouldn't be able to be at their own house with their kids and then be at work that quickly, especially by like running, So I was a little like, what's going on here? So when everything is revealed and we're seeing that it's basically, not basically, it is an underground society with, specific people who are there, including like the president, yada, yada, yada. You're just kind of like, oh, there is something so much bigger. And we are still just like dropping in and trying to figure it out. And it's just like, oh my God, lock in, let's go. See, this is what I'm saying. I can feel the like scandal level obsession viewing for this show because I'm so locked in on this. I think the way that they're just telling the story is so good. Okay, so I'm focusing on Xavier because for me, Xavier is the main character. I don't know if other people would fully agree with that. Like, I think like the marketing, yada, 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 Sterling K. Brown, like for me, he's the main part of the show. Now, Cal is the president. For me, he's actually not that huge of a character as I assumed he would be. Definitely not diminishing James's role or anything like that. But just for me, I actually think the next biggest role is Sinatra. Julianne Nicholson playing Sinatra. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's the woman behind the man that's running everything, but like on purpose, but just maybe without the recognition, but also possibly like that on purpose as well. Okay, Sinatra has me so intrigued for a multitude of levels. And it's also one of those things where it's like, someone went through something and kind of like as a result, they'll forever be changed by that thing. And obviously if you watch the show, you know exactly why and you know what that thing was. But just wow. just wow. Gabriella's character, I have so many thoughts, but Gabriella's character as the therapist, I should have wrote down what her title was for like the society. That's the other character that I'm locked in on. So for me, it's like Xavier, Sinatra, and Gabriella. There's so many other characters and they're all important and they're all help tell the story and all those things like that. Amazing. I'm not belittling them in any way. But for me, this show was about those three. It's really about those three. Or maybe I could just say that those actors are just, they're maximizing their role so much that those three just stand out to me. I don't know which one is which, but I am so obsessed with this show. I think that they're doing such a great job. the cinematography on it, the storytelling on it, the writing on it, the acting on it, the execution of it. And like I said, and this is why I mentioned the trailer at the top in terms of the way they edited it. Like the editing needs a nod as well, because now that I know all the things, it's really hard to show stuff as a promo and not reveal too much. And they did it perfectly. It was just enough for us to be like, ooh, what's happening? I want to know what's going on. And also just enough for us to not really know what's going on. So yeah, I also really, really like the pace of this show. If you saw my episode about like Beyond the Gates and the soap opera, I feel like because I'm watching another show that's not paced as quickly, maybe it's standing out so much more. Where, because like in a soap opera, you can have a whole week of episodes and that's maybe like 2 days total. So far for us on Paradise, it's like an episode, you get through some stuff in any given episode. Like you learn a lot, whether it's in flashback, whether it's in present day, you learn a lot of information. So I am here for it. I feel like every little piece I'm looking at like side clues and I'm trying to put puzzle pieces together in my mind. It's funny, if you watch my book podcast, you know, I'm not the best at picking up at like subtle hints that you tell me. It's so phrased so badly, but I'm not amazing at picking up subtle hints. I'm like, oh, if you want me to know this thing, tell me. But I feel like in a TV show, I'm a little better at it, just because I feel like I'm a lot better at picking up visual cues than I am like in a book per se. And that's hilarious given how long I've been reading. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes in a TV show, like a certain look will maybe go, ooh, what's that look for? And that kind of gives me this vibes of this show. Like I feel like every scene, I'm trying to take the scene for it as a whole, but sometimes I'm just like, who's that person in the corner? And then like the next scene, you'll be like, oop, that person in the corner was important. So it's like, you know, my senses are picking up on something. They don't always know what. And I'm really enjoying that process where it's like, this scene is what this scene is, but it's kind of seeing the beyond the stuff on it, like, and getting through that. I also want to take a point to kind of shout out the library. This is such a weird thing, but I love that a library in general made it into the bunker. And then like as I'm, you know, as you keep watching the show, I'm kind of also a little bit like, man, I really wonder what's in the library. For the sake of, I noticed pretty early that they had like the workers and it was like, this is who built our home and that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. And I remember when I first saw that, I immediately was like, okay, we're like the workers not invited to be there, you know? It seems kind of very like, oh, we want to thank them. Like they're not there, like they weren't there. And of course, as you keep watching, you understand yada, yada, yada. But it was one of those things where I'm just like, I'm so intrigued when the president's son went to the library when, you know, they were announcing his death to like the whole town, society, I forgot what they call them. And then Xavier's, the Secret Service agent's daughter, followed him to the library and skipped the town hall. It's very interesting because I noticed like all the music and like all the older cassettes and stuff like that. Like, listen, cassette tapes, I grew up on them. Make sure you get the pencil to kind of make you rewind it back and all that stuff like that. But that's not the standard. And so I thought it was strange. And I was just like, why do they have like cassette tapes? And then when you really understand like the reasoning, you're just like, it's because this bunker essentially captures an archive of like what you want to survive. Like, I don't even know how to phrase that properly. And then again, like when I was doing the rewatch, this I will share just because if you haven't seen it, maybe you'll be able to catch this on the first go. Like when they are having the, I mean, quote unquote, I don't know if it's the same thing because they're just kind of building their own situation. But I guess when the government was meeting after Cal's passing, in the room with like all the senators, the vice presidents and everything like that, I don't even know if those were their actual titles with the actual vice president though, there's a Van Gogh on the wall. And I saw it like passively with my eyes. Sure, I didn't really think too much about it. But then now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, there's probably a Van Gogh in the wall of where the quote unquote government meets, because that's the new museum. Like, it can't be anywhere else because as far as we know, everything else doesn't exist. So I don't know. There's so many like nuances and new societal norms for this world. I'm not a big like world building person, but I do like it when they have a lot of world building things built on current realities. So the fact that this is basically set with the notion of like the world as we know it is gone. But if we kept a portion of society safe and with that, keep a lot of established norms that we have and structures that we have and try to keep and create and encourage positive interactions and yada yada like in that regard and trying to do that and keep it in a positive outlook even though it could be seen as a very traumatic like experience and transition. I'm just like I'm appreciate learning this new world and all of these things because it has established connections to reality, you know, which in and of itself is its own level of scary, but we ain't gonna go into that. So I'm just really really here for a new world order with other establishments. Like that was why like the president's passing was so jarring to so many because it was like, hey, if we are a society of XYZ numbers, I think it's 25,000. I could be wrong. Or maybe 200. I forget the number, but it's a very select set of society. If we have a very select set of society that is fully enclosed, and in that enclosure, there's a lot of safety elements in place, and with those safety elements in place, technically the most powerful man within the structure, a president who has full-time protection, because he's still a president, so he has Secret Service. It's literally why Xavier's character exists, right? But as a Secret Service, it's more of a scaled down situation, but it's still fully enforced. Like it's a whole situation to keep him safe. If the most protected man in this society was killed in his home in this very protected space, and that killer is still loose within this established society, you can see why people would be like, I don't feel safe. We trapped out here. We don't know who this is. Like, what? And I think one of the biggest things, and this is definitely still something I don't even know yet, and what I'm going to continue to tune in to find out is that like the whole tablet situation, right? Because not only was this happening in this regard, it was like there's also a sense of information that's out that probably doesn't want to be out, but also for the most part, who knows that that information was available and housed in this specific place too? So it's like, see, this is where like the side eyes start happening because you like, who knows this? Of these people that know this, do we trust them? Of these people that say we know this and we trust them, who have they told? Was it passive? You know, like it's all these little things. And this is where I'm like, I'm so into it. So listen, I hope you guys are tuning in because I'm tuning in. Like, I'm obsessed with this show. I'm going to do everything in my power. So at first, when I started watching thinking I wasn't going to like it and I wasn't going to do it. But now that I'm into it, I'm scared to watch it weekly because I feel like having to stop an episode and then have there not be another one will like make me want to like scream for a whole week. So I don't know if I'm going to like wait and binge everything one go or if I'm just going to keep going with like the episodes for episodes. It's doing great. So I feel like if I don't watch weekly, I'm not threatening the show in any way. But like it's more of a mental sanity thing. Like, can I stand being left on a cliffhanger and there not being another episode? I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. But I do know that the season I do know like there's a finale coming up soon. And so I am like, great. I feel like I can just like charge ahead and keep going. And there will be a new episode soon. And I'll be able to have all my questions answered. So I'm so excited. I hope you're watching Paradise. If you've seen it, please let me know. Let's talk about it because I am locked in. Okay, y'all. I gotta go. Watch another episode. But make sure you come back next time and remember to yell respectfully. All right. Bye.